Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Orange Crushing It. Just off of a great weekend. My name is Frank Clark, and I am the CEO of the Mr. Orange. And today, yes, today I have, I know you guessed it, right? Another exciting guest. Yet another exciting guest. But yes, I really do love and I appreciate this woman coming on. She's a good friend of mine, Shiobhan Olivero. Is a trial lawyer, and she practices high-level criminal defense and family law, as well as divorce in the state of Florida, which she is a native of, which is, you don't find too many people that are native Floridians at all anymore. She's also a certified coach, and that piece of it helps her actually kind of set herself apart from other lawyers because she brings a little, not little, but quite a bit of emotional aspects, being able to handle people from an emotional standpoint, not just, serve them as a divorce lawyer or a criminal lawyer, but actually can get in and help people adjust, understand what's going on. Brings a lot of passion and compassion to that. And that's really what sets her apart. She juggles many things. She's an experienced trial lawyer, a business owner, an adjunct professor, mentor, coach, speaker, and a mother. She really is a powerhouse in her industry. She does presentations at business conferences, leadership conferences. She's kick-ass in the courtroom, delivering incredible persuasive arguments. She also presents at schools. I want to get into that a little bit. I do like using like the Jack Nicholson, "You can't handle the truth." For these kids. Maybe that's it. I don't know. She is been featured on national television, local television. She, in her spare time, enjoys scuba diving, music, singing, playing the keyboard, and fishing. Shiobhan, welcome to Orange Crushing It.
Oh, well, thanks, Frank. Thanks for that amazing introduction. I'm humbled by that.
You wrote it. Come on.
Well, you put a spin on it, so.
Well, welcome to the show. The way I know you, Shiobhan, is through an organization called Unblinded. I've had a lot of members of the Unblinded team and people that I've met there, just phenomenal group. And that goes back, I don't know, a couple of months ago or so. We were all at a big ass party in New Jersey and Long Beach Island a weekend or two ago, and great time. Got to know everybody really, really well. Face a little bit of our fears and do a little surfing in the Atlantic Ocean. A little craziness.
Yep.
So tell me, why the law, and specifically why criminal law? How'd you get into that? What did you decide? Like, was this like a 5-year-old, kind of, hey man, I just can't wait to grow up and be the Johnny Cochran, right? That goes, if.
Well, you're half right on that one. It was since I was like 5 years old. So there's no big story to that. Just, when I was in like kindergarten, they asked you what you want to be when you grow up, and I said a lawyer. But when I was younger, I said I was going to be a corporate lawyer because, that's where all the money was. And, but as I grew up, I actually was a paralegal before I went to law school. So I was a paralegal for about 10 years. And in that 10 years, I was in the criminal defense field, working for criminal defense attorneys, and just absolutely loved the criminal world and criminal defense. And so I knew that's what I wanted to do when I got out of law school. And so went into criminal defense and then opened my firm and added family law in after that. Did
you add why add family law? Why not add like patent attorney or what?
Family law fit because I am divorced. So I'd been through it, and it was an area that I knew I could help people in. And generally when you go out on your own as a solo law firm owner, you don't just do one area of law. You bring in, a combination of areas. And so for me, it was family law, just because I knew that was an area that I could be good at, that I could help people in, and that there was a need for. And having already gone through it, I divorced my ex-husband when my son was 4, and then actually went to law school as a single mom when my son was 6 years old. So having gone through it and then gone through law school and started a practice, I felt that I could help other people see that divorce doesn't have to be an end, but it can be a beginning, and you can go out there and do amazing things after a divorce.
That's incredible that you say that, because I got divorced just 2.5 years ago. And, had the mediator and the lawyers been sensitive, you know, I always sit down and just, okay, you get the blue plate and you get the red napkin holder, and no, I want the red. We fight over shit like you don't even. It doesn't really seem to matter. And mine didn't take a long time, but nonetheless, they're brutal. I mean, divorce to me is in when you represent a client, which one seems like easier? Divorce attorneys, divorce work, or like dealing with a criminal?
The easier one is criminal.
Criminal. And why is that?
As far as just dealing with the clients themselves, the criminal work is the easier side. Not that criminal's not emotional, but in family law, you are just dealing with such high emotion areas. You know, you're dealing with people's kids, and you're dealing with things that they have these emotional attachments to, and that tends to make people sometimes difficult to deal with and to work through and to get along with, which is why now being a certified divorce coach came into play, and to help people through those emotional side of things with that. But in criminal law, it's a lot of it is, you know, it just is what it is. It's, you're taking a plea deal, you're going to trial, and the outcome's going to be the outcome. So
True. It's pretty much just fact based. You did this, you didn't do this, right?
Right.
And the divorce side of things, especially when you're getting kids involved, it's very emotional. It's very emotional, because even the things that have no value, they have emotional value, right? Especially for a long time. So I hand it to you, though. You know, you divorced, like you said, when your child was just 4 years old. So you're raising a child. You go into school to become an attorney. I mean, that's a lot of work. Kudos to you for doing that. That's, you know, single mom to me is the hardest job on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, most underrated, hardest job on the planet. So give you a lot of props for that, you know, to doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Certainly interesting having a 6-year-old in tow, you know, in law school classes, but
Yeah, but you know, you make it happen, right? You do what you got to do. You dig in. I mean, that's part of orange energy, right? We're driven. We just get it done.
Do what you got to do. Yeah.
You do what you got to do. So, I think I even asked you this when we first met, but I'm curious, and I always thought this, and I've asked people, you know, that working with high profile criminal people, or even if they're not high profile, you know, criminal's a criminal, right? You get a situation that you go, I don't know if I can represent this person. You know, you look at him and you go, man, you just have guilty. They come to the courtroom with a T-shirt that says, I did it. Like, remember when OJ had, like, he was going to write a book and said, if I had done it? Like, you got guys or gals that come in the courtroom and the T-shirt just screams, I am guilty. But yet, you know, you have to defend these people. Do you ever kind of get a moment of like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it.
Nope, never.
Never.
Mm-mm.
Really?
Really.
How does the mind work? Like, walk me through a process of like.
Well, the way I'm going to initially say it is probably going to come across not the way that it's meant, but what I'm going to initially say is, I don't care if they did it or they didn't do it. So not to say that obviously that I don't care about my client. I do care about my client, but my job isn't to care whether they're guilty or not guilty. My job is to make sure they're protected, right? I am your constitutional right to have a lawyer represent you in the criminal justice system. So it's to make sure your rights are protected, to hold the state to their burden, to make sure that, you know, if the state's accusing you of a crime, that they can prove it, and that they've done everything right, and that they haven't violated any of your rights to get there.
Right. Everyone's entitled to it.
If they do their job right, then the outcome that, you know, if someone's guilty and they've done their job right, then that person is going to get a sentence that's appropriate. But if they haven't done their job right, then that person shouldn't be punished, because, you know, that's what I tell everybody. Without these protections in place, you know, criminal allegations come up all the time on just that word, just an allegation. I mean, somebody could say, Frank Clark did this to me, and that's it. Now you're facing a significant number of years in prison based on one person's allegation.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to have somebody on your side and protections in place to make sure that you're protected, that if that happens, and if they're not lying or making it up or some other thing, or, you know, they did an invalid search warrant or any of these other things happens, that, you know, justice is done, whichever way justice is to be done.
Sure. And like you said, you know, okay, somebody says Frank Clark is guilty of something, right? I mean, we live now in a day and age where social media is such a guiding belief system in life. They see it on TV, they see it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, man, it's the truth. So in the court of public opinion, a lot of people are guilty before they're even, before they spend one day in court. And, you know, depending on how things are spun, how do you find that that dynamic affects the legal system right now? Or is it really any effect?
Sure, it's an effect for cases that are high news cases,
Mhm.
obviously. So when you're representing somebody that's going to go to trial, that's a high news case, there's a lot of very detailed jury selection that you do to try to ask the right questions, to try to get to the answers, to see if they've heard the news stories, or if they've already formed an opinion, or if any of those news stories or opinions are going to affect them, and sitting and hearing only what's presented in court, because they can only make a decision on guilty or not guilty on what's presented to them in court, not on anything else that they've heard anywhere else.
True. True. Again, I see how, like, public opinion can destroy companies. It seems like, and public opinion, you know, if you're an Instagram influencer, and you wake up one morning and go, hey, you know what, I don't like Procter and Gamble. You know,
Right.
you got 20 million followers. All of a sudden, P&G stock is dropping to the floor.
Right. Well, yeah, it certainly follows you. I mean, just because maybe you do get the verdict of not guilty in court, but we've certainly seen where public opinion has, not helped somebody who's even been found not guilty. You mentioned O.J. Simpson, right? Found not guilty in court, but still, the reputation that follows him now for the amount of people who consider him guilty, despite what the jury verdict was, just
Sure.
it's there.
Sure. Again, it's a fascinating field. It's a fascinating career. Obviously, I know a lot of lawyers now, especially with the group of friends that we hang out with. And I've certainly had my, I'm 61 years old. I've owned 6 companies. I've certainly had my share of different legal aspects of running companies. I have my own little book I could write on just that topic. One of the things that I find fascinating that you're involved with, though, is you're a certified coach as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when people go through divorce, I've seen it all different areas. I can speak for myself. I'm fairly evolved, if you will, or fairly self-aware, having done a lot of personal development stuff. So I tended to get through it maybe faster than most. But in general, when you're working with somebody, what are the things that you try to work with them on or bring out with them? Or when you start coaching somebody that's just devastated, they lost everything, they lost their spouses, maybe they didn't even see it coming, and now they become weekend dad or weekend mom, or their kids are taken from them, or they have, somebody moves, and all of that dynamic. Mm-hmm. It's loss. And how do you coach somebody through that? What are some of your techniques or some of the things that you do to get to people, and not get to them, but understand and help them understand that there is a next chapter?
There's quite a few techniques that I do for that. And of course, my caveat to that is to say that I'm not a therapist, right? So sure. I'm not licensed, not certified as a therapist. So there is a difference in therapy where you're dealing with those trauma type of feelings and issues that are more, should be addressed more in therapy than in coaching. Mm-hmm. But with coaching, what I tell people, I help them get through their 3 personal P's. So first is to help find your personal power, your resilience, your strength, back to your inner self, who you are and overcoming that, your personal pride, being proud of who you are, or if there's kids involved, and having your kids be proud of who you are coming out of the other side of a divorce. Because many times, as you may have seen, Frank, or may know, people do some things they're not so proud of. And act ways that they are not so proud of during that time of divorce, just from the high emotions. And so really helping them when they are in the heat of it, if you will, maybe reacting different and behaving differently, and things that we can do to see that. One technique that I use is called the best self exercise. Best self. Okay. Sitting somebody down and helping them figure out who they are at their best self. Find, if you're not there where you can see who you are at your best self yet, then what I tell people is to, who's somebody that you look up to? You know, they can be in real life, or they can be a celebrity, or they can be fiction, but somebody that you look up to, and what are those characteristics that you see in them
Mhm.
that you think are great, and you know that you perceive to be them in their best self. Because if you see it, you have it, right?
Right.
So like, see it and you acknowledge it and you have it. And then what you like about them and what you look up to about them. And then when we can start to get you to see you as that in your best self. And then every day, just, all right, were you your best self? If not, where did we fall short? And what can we do to get you there tomorrow? How can we get there? And what can we do? And so that's the personal peace and the personal power. And the other side, or sorry, the personal power and the personal pride, and then the personal peace. That's the other side of that. You
Mhm.
know, having self forgiveness and self love, and just finding your inner peace inside of that to be able to know that, you know, again, it can be a beginning. It doesn't have to be an end. And it's just how we look at it and how we view it. And we're going to come out of this a stronger and better person ultimately all the way around. And some of those techniques that we do that. Also, um, teaching them different communication styles and teaching them where people are on what I call the communication curve,
Okay.
right? Especially when we're going through a very emotional time, or you know, a time like this, there's an emotional curve that people are on that, you know, or it's kind of just that, you know, that you curve, and maybe you're here but the other person's here. So how do you communicate when you're at different parts of that curve, and what does that look like, and what are some techniques that you can do to really communicate more effectively to have less friction during this time?
Sure. What if you could define different parts of the curve? I looked at it as when I was going through a divorce. I'm like, all right, here's some phases. It's almost like grieving. I kind of looked at it like that. Compared it to that, where phase one was sad, phase two was pissed, phase three was back to sad, back to pissed, back
Yeah, almost like that.
apathy, right? So you finally get to I called resolve, which is okay. This is the reality here, right? Let's
Yeah.
deal with, you know,
Yeah. And you pretty much hit it, you know, right on. You know, it's the very similar to that, you know, grieving type of, you know, it's the you know, the hurt and the sadness and the anger, and back to sadness, and exactly what you said, back to anger, and then back to, you know, okay, we're okay now, and you know, now we're moving on. And you know, and both of you are not going to be on the same part of the curve at the same time, because chances are one of you were not ready for the divorce when it happened. So one
right.
may already be further along on we're resolved, while the other one's still dealing with sadness, and then anger, and then anger, and then more anger, and then sad.
Up, your audio has frozen, Siobhan. Here you have technical difficulties.
Oh, I'm back.
You're back. All right.
Technology is great till it's not.
Isn't it? Welcome back. Welcome back to the show, Siobhan. We were talking about the grieving process and going through divorce, and how you said, you know, there's the sadness and the loss, and then there's the anger, back to sadness, back to anger, back to sadness,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then you get to the point, I guess, where hopefully both people are on the same page, right?
Yeah, and it's you know, talking about hot buttons. You know, do you know what your hot buttons are? When somebody says something to you, what's the thing that sets you off? What's that hot button? And
Mm-hmm.
then do you know what that hot button is to the other person? And then how do we reframe our communications and not trigger those hot buttons? Or how do we reframe for you how you react when the other person tries to trigger that hot button? Because if you don't get triggered, communication's going to go a lot more smooth. You know, if you say something to me that triggers my hot button and I just come right back at you, we're not going to have effective communication. Where if I
Right.
can just take a minute and reset and go, that triggered something in me. It's not what you said, but it's what it triggered in me and why it triggered it in me. Then I can work my way through it and have communication with
Well, that's a great distinction that you just said there, right? It's not necessarily about you, right? And I guess that's one of the things that is I guess it's easier said than done, or easier said than lived, right?
you.
When somebody, especially when it's a trigger, because in life we have these events that happen, and then we stack the meanings to these events, and when certain events look like the prior events, the meanings still kind of stay the same.
Mhm.
And so getting past that, okay, this event, divorce, might look like when you were 10 years old and somebody rejected you in the school line.
Mhm.
It could have almost the exact same meaning and bring the same trigger back to that. But like you said, when you're dealing in what's the reality here of what the situation is and trying to bring out somebody's best self, is to keep them focused on that so they're not hitting the trigger.
Right.
That's challenging. That's a challenging thing. I would guess. I would assume so. Right.
Yeah. Certainly can be, depending
Yeah.
on, where the person is in their state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you mentioned, step one is to try to bring out somebody's best self. And
Mhm.
that usually it reminds them of somebody else that was, pivotal. Who brought your best self out? How do you define your best self, and who was
Mm.
instrumental in helping create that for you?
That's a great question. So, um, someone for me that I always that I look up to and always have for me is my dad. So my dad is one of the most, well, we talk a lot in the circles that we're in of unconditional love for people. And my dad is just one of those people that has unconditional love for anybody and everybody that he meets. And no judgment, and just a giver. He will give his heart to anybody, and anything that he can give. So for me, my dad is somebody that I like to look up to mimic for who my best self is, of just unconditional love and just in giving, but unconditional love with boundaries, right? Because
With boundaries.
sometimes saying no is acceptable. So,
Right.
but just being able to give and giving with no expectations in return. Um,
That's amazing. That's
Giving out of
beautiful.
love. Yeah,
That's beautiful. Your dad must be an amazing guy.
he is.
Yeah. Bring out your best self because you're an amazing person yourself. So the fact that you have somebody that's a mentor like that and is very close to you, that's admirable.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, when you talk about, again, you're bringing out somebody's best self. You're trying to help them understand what's going on in their life. It's again a pivotal time for change. You mentioned tapping into forgiveness and love.
Mm.
Early on, in those stages of grief or those stages of despair, there's that pissed off stage, right?
Mm.
Like forgiveness. I'm not forgiving this. Beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep, beep, right?
Right.
You know what they did to me? Um, but I find that forgiveness really has to be self-driven first, right? Forgive yourself
Yeah.
first, right? Because
Right.
look, everything in your life is created, promoted, or allowed. That's my theory. Okay,
I
like
agree.
no victims, right?
Yeah.
You create, promote, allow everything in your life, and if you take responsibility for that, then you know if you've done something wrong, forgive it. Forgiveness is giving up all hope for a better past. You cannot change it. How's forgiveness look for you? How do you get your clients to go again when they're pissed? They're like, I'm not forgiving anybody. Yeah? Forgive myself. I didn't do anything wrong. I got screwed. She cheated on me. He cheated on me. He did this. He did that. You kidding me? Raise his kids. Now they'll leave me for their secretary. What? Bah, 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 bah. How do you get people to get into forgiveness and just understanding how the power of that?
Well, really, that's person by person, right? Because you've
Yeah.
got to find out again, where are they at their best self, right? What are those things for them? What does that look like for them? What's the most important thing for them? Is it their kids? If it's their kids, then it's sometimes we can use that, as the lean into forgiving the other person. But like you said, forgiveness is really about forgiving internal, right?
Sure.
It's forgiveness is something you do for yourself, because harboring all of those feelings inside isn't healthy for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Holding all that anger isn't healthy for you, and prevents you from moving on, prevents you from being your best self and creating the life that you're meant to have, and being the amazing person that you're meant to be. So trying to reframe it back to that, to bringing it back to them of, you can't be your best self if you're harboring all of those things. So forgiveness is really about you. It's really internal for you, so that you can be who you deserve and are meant to be. And really just walking them through. It's obviously sometimes it's not done in just, one conversation.
Of
But
course, right. If
but
life was just that easy, huh?
yes.
One book, one pill, one conference, That's it. Everybody gets it all, right?
Right, right. But yeah, just really kind of always focusing on that and bringing it back around to that. So that's one of the strongest exercises is the, who are you at your best self, and is this person that you're being your best self?
Gotcha. Dropping back into the criminal side of things that you do, okay? Is there a lot of that type of, getting them into forgiveness, getting them into focusing on their best self, or is it still really pretty much just a, okay, I'm a TV guy, I'm a movie guy, I've watched a lot of stuff, right? And obviously courtroom stuff, I mean, they make tons of TV shows about it because it's such great drama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I think criminal law and I think a female attorney, the very first thing that comes to my mind, of course, is Clarice Starling and, the whole Hannibal Lecter and you're a coach. So, when you're involved with minds like that can do something that is criminal, right? Like, do you get, like in the show, right? Again, this is maybe a stupid question. I don't know. But, she got wrapped up in Hannibal Lecter in the show, right? In the series, right? Do you find that you get wrapped up in the mind of a criminal, right? Who could take a life? Who could, do something that heinous? Who could do this? When you know that they're, granted, you're there to protect them, you're there to serve them. That's their rights as an American. But, does that getting into their head, or do they get into your head, or I don't know. Either dispel the rumor of that Clarice Starling is like sensationalized to the nth degree, or there's some element that's true of that.
Well, that again is person by person and depends, right? Like I do know attorneys that get wrapped up in it, certainly. I tend not to get wrapped up or get into that deep into it, into the aspect. Not to say that I'm not compassionate and I don't care about my clients. To the contrary, I think that's why my clients trust me so much, is because I do show that compassion and that I care about them and that I'm not judging them. And one of the things that I always say, and I'm sure you and I've been around enough and other that you've heard me say it, that we aren't defined by our worst day, right? The thing that we've done, the worst thing in our life that we've done, or the worst day that we've ever had, isn't who defines us. We are more than that. We can become more than that. We can overcome that. And so when I sit down with clients who are facing some really terrible allegations, I represent people that are charged with murders and facing the death penalty, and and doing that, and when they really start to trust me to say that, like, I don't judge you. I don't care whether you did this or you didn't do this. I just want to know what your outcome is for you. Is the outcome for you that you say you want, that you want to say that you did it and you just want me to get a plea deal, or you didn't do it and we're going to take this all the way to trial, and if we're going all the way to trial, then here's the evidence and here's what we have to overcome. Help me overcome it. What do we do? How do we explain that this person said they saw you do it? What happened here? Why would they say that about you? Where, what's the argument that you guys have, or the dispute that you guys have that this person could be making this up, or whatever it is that we need to look at to overcome. So it's really just kind of looking at it from that kind of outside standpoint of just, here's what I have to do,
right?
Depending on what outcome they need. And sure, with clients that are going to go to trial that you're spending a lot of time with, some of these cases I've got them for 2, 3, 4 years before they go to trial, so you get to know your clients, and I get to know them as a person.
Sure.
And so I do get to see the good that's in them. And then that is where sometimes some of the coaching can come in, because they are sitting in jail and they are sometimes facing life in prison or the death penalty, and then they see there's some hopelessness sometimes there. So or one that I just recently had, who he did get convicted of a second-degree murder, but he got a term of years. He only got, but he got 25 years when he was 17 years old. But for him, that was just a lifetime and an eternity. And that's just me trying to coach him through to go, you're still going to be really young. When you're finished with the sentence, there's still a lot of things you can do, and the good things that you can do while you're inside. This doesn't have to define you. There's things that we can do to help you get through that, so that you can, do amazing things when you do get out.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. You're giving somebody hope, You're right. I mean, 17 at 25 years, you're 42. But again, when you're 17, 42 is like, that's my grandfather's age, I think.
Yeah. No, I know. I had that conversation. They start to say, but I'll be 42. And I'm like, if you say that's old, you better stop right there because that's old I am. And no. I'm not old.
No, neither am I.
Yeah.
So in the judicial system, you provide some level of counseling. Do you think that there needs to be more of that? What needs to take place in our judicial system or in our prison system or something? If you could make a change obviously for the better, what do you think it would be?
There's a lot of things that need to be changed. So without going on a overly political rant there on things that need to be changed inside. Obviously the main thing that things need to be more fair inside the system as far as it is. And I'm not going to go off on a completely, rant on that, but systemic racism is very much rampant and very much alive inside of the system. And there does need to be change inside the system so that, that isn't happening and that things become more equal and more fair as far as the system and how it's applied.
Right. Yeah, and not getting political, but it is a forefront conversation right now, especially this year, with the coronavirus and Black Lives Matter and all of the situations, that are in our face right now. It is an issue, and I hope that we can get to a place of peace and resolve and all bringing out the best in every single one of us, like you mentioned, right? Finding the good in every single person.
Exactly.
So, you're coaching young people. Your child, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They come to you and say, Mom, I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be.
He's already decided he doesn't want to be that, but
He's already
probably the one decision he has made so far.
That he's pretty clear on. No, Mom, I want to do that. So, what advice would you give somebody that's just starting up, or maybe even just a single parent that somebody's like, maybe you started law school when your son was 4, right?
Right.
So there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There is, and to anybody that's listening right now, and maybe they're going through divorce, and maybe they have young kids, and maybe they, at some level feel that there's just no hope. There's just no next chapter. There's just no second act. What advice would you give them to help them get through this time in their life?
Well, there's no such thing as no hope and no second act, first of all, right? If it's what you want to do and it's what you're passionate about and it's something and it's what you love, then you just go for it and you do it. And it doesn't matter where you're at in life or how old you are or, what things have happened. If you're passionate about it, then you go for it and you do it. And so that is a conversation, you're right, that I have with my son. My son's now 20, almost 20, he'll be 20 in February. And so that's a conversation we have frequently of just, let's figure out what you're passionate about and let's figure out how to make a business around it, or what can we do to have success around something that you love and you enjoy and that you're passionate about, because whether you start it at 20 or whether you start it at 70, it doesn't matter, just enjoy what you have to enjoy in life and do what you want to do.
Right. Don't you find that people come back to doing what they love to do, but it's usually so much later in their life and they go, oh man, I don't have enough time anymore. I really like this.
Absolutely. And I went to Stetson, which is, here in the Tampa Bay area. And Stetson's one of the few that have a part-time law school program, which when you go into the part-time law school program, you actually find it's geared towards second career, older people, which is where I started. I started in the part-time program because, I was almost 30 by the time I went to law school. And, I was in my late 20s, almost 30, and turned 30 in law school. And so, and there were people, in their 60s and their 50s and 60s and, even older that were in the part-time program going back to law school. So, and I've had people tell me that. I've had friends go, I always wanted to do that, but, it's just too late. And I'm like, but it never is too late. If it's what you want to do, then what's stopping you other than fear? And well, let's coach through that, right? So,
other than the thing that stops every human being for everything they don't do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just get over it. That was my mother's favorite
Just
phrase.
get over it. Just
Just
stop it.
get over it.
The Bob Newhart skit. Just stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my mom. To her blessings, Mom. Okay, you got me through a lot of stuff. Just get over it. Move on. So,
Yep.
not knocking you, Ma, when you listen to this. Schiobhan, you're a coach as well, right? And some people believe that, after a certain point in life, you don't need to be coached anymore. I have a different opinion on that, but what's your take on being coached and needing a coach? And we've met through organizations that are coaching based. What is your take on that, on whether you hire a coach, or when it's time to hire a mentor, or when is a teacher good enough, or when do you think you need a therapist? How would you differentiate between those four categories? Like somebody who's a therapist, somebody who's a coach, somebody who's a teacher, and somebody who's a mentor.
Well, therapist is actually very specific, right? We're dealing with, traumas with, mental health issues, or, some significant emotional things that, therapists are trained to take care of. That's when you need the therapist. Coaching, as you know, there's a whole array of coaches, right? There's, now, of course, certified divorce coaches, that's just fairly new. There's life coaching, business coaching, success coaching, all kinds of coaching that goes on out there. And I don't know. I don't think I'd be a good coach if I didn't believe in coaching, right?
Right. Walking your talk.
You're exactly, because I believe that we can always be better than we are. There's just there's when you think that you've accomplished everything that you want to accomplish, there's even more for you to accomplish. There's even something greater out there for you to do. So always having somebody in your corner, and coaching and mentoring, or a teacher, they all kind of are very similar, and it's what works for you at that time, for what you need in that time in your life. But always having somebody that's going to be in your corner, and that's also, kicking your ass to be better, and
Right.
not taking your excuses, and not taking your crap, and and helping you work through it, and to be even better.
That's a great analogy. That's a great definition of it too. And to add one piece to that, that's one of the things I think is differentiated between a teacher and a coach. A teacher will teach you the class. Whether you learn it or not is up to you.
Right.
I'm going to stand in front of this class of 30 people. I'm going to teach this class. This is all the information I know. You either get it or you don't get it. But a coach is like, takes a personal investment in your time. And a coach will tell you, some of them, I know I do this for myself, and I'm sure you do as well. I don't want to take you on. Teacher's like, okay, I got 30 kids in classes who I get. Coach is like, I don't take you on, because not everybody is coachable, I don't believe, but everybody can be taught something. So it takes that, like you said, a little kick in the butt. We're going to find your best self, and then we're going to kick it to the last and get some things going sometimes.
Right. And then we're going to expand your best self, and we're going to get you there, and then we're going to keep expanding it. Yeah.
Right. Keep making you better. Right.
Yep.
Keep improving. Hey, for fun, you like to sing. I haven't heard you sing yet, but I heard other people that did, and I guess you are quite accomplished. So I sing horribly. Okay, I sound like
I've never said that I was good at it.
Well, I mean, I'd give you a shot right now. But
No.
What you have to have a go-to karaoke song. Anybody who says they sing for fun has that. Okay, let me rock this out of the park in the country bar or wherever you're at.
Yep.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Fancy by Reba.
Fancy by Reba.
And Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler.
Well, I know the Total Eclipse of the Heart, but the Fancy by Reba, can you bust out a couple verses?
Nope.
All right. You're going to have to leave the audience waiting and have to look it up.
It's on my Facebook page. You can go find it.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right, then we're going to go do that. Schiobhan, it's been fun talking to you. It's been inspiring to listen how, obviously your dad being such a great mentor to you, the stuff that you're doing in law, the stuff that you're doing just to improve your life and to improve the lives of other people that you're working with. It's fantastic. You're a role model for single moms. I know you're married again, but, just raising a child at 4 years old, being 20 and going back to school and all of those things, it's outstanding. And it's truly orange crushing it energy. I love what you embody. I love what you stand for. I love that I couldn't get you to sing, even though Maybe we'll try it some other time. How can people get a hold of you? How can people get more of the Shiobhan energy?
So you can find me on Facebook. I am Shiobhan Olivero is my personal page, or SOS Speaks is my coaching and mentoring page. Olivero Law is of course the law firm page. I'm on LinkedIn, Shiobhan Olivero Attorney. I'm on Instagram under all three of those things as well. Olivero Law, SOS Speaks, and CS Olivero. And if you want to email me is always the best way, and that is info at oliverolaw.com.
That's olivero.com. Olivero, yes.
Olivero Law, yep.
Oliverolaw.com. All right. Again, Shiobhan, thanks for being here. Thanks for, again, embodying the orange energy. Thanks for being part of the show. You're amazing. You're incredible. And like always, please just stay inspiring and keep doing what you do.
Oh, thank you, Frank.
You're welcome. Bye.